My beloved child, stop scrolling for just a moment, because what you are about to hear did not reach you by accident. Something has been waiting for you in the silence, something your heart has sensed but your mind has not yet been able to explain. You were guided here because the person you love has something deeply important they wish they could tell you right now, and the truth behind their silence is much bigger than you have imagined. Do not rush away from this moment. Stay here, because the words that are unfolding are connected to a change already taking place beneath the surface. You may not see it yet. You may not have received the message, the call, or the sign you have been hoping for. But something shifted recently, and the person who has occupied so much space in your heart is no longer thinking about you in the same way they did before. They have realized something. It happened quietly, perhaps in the middle of an ordinary moment. There was no great announcement, no dramatic scene, no one standing nearby to witness it. Yet inside them, a door opened. A memory returned. A truth became impossible to avoid. And suddenly, everything they had tried to hide from themselves began rising to the surface. They thought they could continue moving through life while keeping their deepest feelings under control. They believed time would make things easier. They told themselves that distance would bring clarity, that silence would weaken the connection, and that distractions would eventually erase the thoughts of you. But it did not happen. The more they tried to move forward without acknowledging what you mean to them, the more your presence appeared in unexpected places. A song sounded different. A familiar street carried your memory. A quiet evening felt heavier than before. Even the smallest things began reminding them of conversations, expressions, and moments they once assumed they would forget. Stay with me, because this is only the beginning of what has changed. The person you love has been carrying words they never knew how to deliver. They have imagined speaking to you many times. They have rehearsed sentences in their mind, changed them, softened them, and then abandoned them because the truth felt too vulnerable. They were afraid that if they told you everything, they would no longer be able to pretend that their heart was untouched. They wanted to appear strong. They wanted to seem certain. They wanted you to believe they were not affected by the distance, the confusion, or the things left unresolved between you. But behind that appearance is someone who has been wrestling with a realization that becomes stronger each day. You mattered more than they admitted. Your presence reached parts of them that other people could not reach. You saw things they tried to hide. You noticed changes in their voice, pauses in their words, and emotions they did not openly explain. There were moments when they felt understood by you without having to speak, and that frightened them because true understanding creates a kind of closeness that cannot easily be forgotten. They may have pulled away when they wanted to come closer. They may have gone silent when there was so much they needed to say. They may have acted uncertain because the depth of what they felt demanded a courage they had not yet developed. But something is different now. Recently, they were confronted with the possibility of losing the connection completely. It may not have happened through a direct conversation. It may have come through a thought, a dream, something they heard, or a sudden awareness that life keeps moving even when important words remain unspoken. For the first time, they considered what it would feel like if you truly stopped waiting, stopped wondering, and closed the door they assumed would remain open. That thought shook them. They realized that your patience was never a promise to wait forever. Your kindness was never permission for them to remain silent. Your love was never something they could leave unanswered without consequence. And now, the possibility that you may be preparing to choose peace over uncertainty has awakened something powerful inside them. Do not skip this part, because the next truth is the one they have been most afraid to admit. They have compared every new connection, every conversation, and every sense of comfort to what they felt with you. They may not have done this consciously at first, but over time the pattern became undeniable. Other people could make them laugh, yet something was missing. Other conversations could fill the time, yet they did not reach the same depth. Other moments could look perfect from the outside, yet inside there remained an empty space carrying your name. And that is when they understood that what they shared with you was not ordinary. It was not simply attraction. It was not a temporary emotional spark. It was not something that could be replaced by convenience or forgotten through distraction. Your connection left an imprint, and every attempt to deny it only made that imprint clearer. They are beginning to understand why they could not fully let go. There are people who enter your life and leave behind memories. Then there are people whose presence changes the way you understand love, trust, and yourself. You became that person for them. You showed them a version of connection that was honest enough to comfort them and powerful enough to challenge them. You made them feel seen, but being seen meant they could no longer hide from their own heart. This is why their behavior may have confused you. One moment they seemed close, and the next they became distant. One day they gave you hope, and another day they disappeared into uncertainty. Their inconsistency was not proof that you meant nothing. It was proof that they did not know how to carry feelings this deep without becoming afraid. But heaven has been working in the spaces where neither of you could see. While you were learning not to abandon yourself for love, they were learning that love cannot survive without truth. While you were becoming stronger, they were being brought face to face with the consequences of avoidance. While you were asking why the journey had become so difficult, unseen changes were beginning inside both of you. Pause here and breathe, because you need to understand something important. You were never meant to chase someone into recognizing your worth. You were never meant to shrink your heart so another person could feel comfortable. You were never meant to accept confusion as the highest form of love available to you. The delay was not designed to break you. It was revealing what needed to mature. There were patterns within you that needed healing, and there were fears within them that needed exposure. Without this season, both of you might have repeated the same wounds while calling them destiny. The silence forced you to listen to yourself. The distance forced them to confront what they had avoided. And now the person you love wants to tell you something very important. They want to tell you that they remember more than you think. They remember a look you gave them when words were not enough. They remember the way your presence made difficult moments feel lighter. They remember a conversation you may have assumed meant little to them, but it stayed in their mind long after it ended. They remember how you cared, even when you were trying not to show the depth of your feelings. Most of all, they remember the moment they realized you were not like everyone else. Perhaps they did not honor that realization when it first arrived. Perhaps they allowed fear, pride, timing, or outside voices to influence their actions. Perhaps they convinced themselves that there would always be another chance. But the heart has a way of returning to the truth. Something happened recently that made them revisit the choices they made around you. They began asking themselves questions they had avoided for a long time. Why did they withdraw when the connection felt real? Why did they hesitate when their heart already knew? Why did they allow silence to speak for them when silence was never what they truly wanted? The answers were uncomfortable. They discovered that they were not protecting themselves from you. They were protecting themselves from the possibility of being deeply loved and then deeply hurt. They had built emotional walls before you arrived, and when you came close enough to touch those walls, they mistook vulnerability for danger. So they stepped back. But now they understand that the wall did not only keep pain away. It kept love away too. Stay till the end of this message, because something huge is still waiting to be revealed. The person you love is reaching a point where remaining silent has become more painful than speaking. Every day they delay, the words inside them grow heavier. They are beginning to feel that if they do not tell you the truth soon, they may lose the chance to tell you at all. They are not only afraid of losing you to another person. They are afraid of losing you to your own healing. That is the part they did not expect. They thought your love would keep you emotionally available, even if they remained uncertain. They did not understand that healing changes what the heart is willing to tolerate. They did not realize that one day you would wake up and no longer feel drawn to the same confusion that once kept you waiting. But they sense that change in you now. They can feel that you are not standing in the same emotional place. You may still love them, but you are beginning to love yourself differently. You are beginning to understand that real connection should not require you to constantly question whether you matter. You are beginning to protect the peace you fought so hard to build. And this new strength in you has become the mirror they can no longer avoid. Your silence is speaking to them. Your distance is teaching them. Your decision to stop forcing what should flow naturally is making them realize that your presence was a gift, not a guarantee. They want to tell you that they noticed the change. They noticed when your energy became quieter. They noticed when you stopped reaching in the same way. They noticed when your attention began returning to your own life, your own purpose, and your own healing. Even if they never mentioned it, they felt the difference. At first, they tried to convince themselves that it did not matter. They told themselves they were imagining it. But then came the moment when they understood that you might truly be preparing to release what had remained unresolved. And that is when fear turned into clarity. They began to understand that love is not only about what someone feels. It is also about what someone is willing to do with those feelings. A heart can care deeply and still lose something precious through hesitation. A person can hold beautiful intentions and still create pain through silence. They are finally seeing the difference between loving you privately and choosing you openly. Do not misunderstand this message. Heaven is not asking you to abandon your wisdom. You are not being told to accept empty promises or return to an old pattern simply because someone has feelings. Feelings must become honesty. Honesty must become action. Action must become consistency. This revelation is not only about what they feel. It is about what they are being prepared to face. They know that when they speak to you, they cannot return with vague words. They cannot offer fragments and expect you to build a future from them. They cannot ask for your trust without taking responsibility for the confusion they created. Deep inside, they understand that the next conversation between you will carry weight. It will not be like the conversations of the past. Too much has changed. Too much has been learned. Too much has been felt in the silence. If they come forward, they must come forward differently. And if you listen, you must listen from the strength you have gained, not from the fear of losing them. Something extraordinary is forming at the edge of this story, but it requires truth from both hearts. The person you love wants to tell you that they are sorry for the moments when their actions made you question your value. They are sorry for the times they left you interpreting silence. They are sorry that their confusion became a burden you had to carry. They may not yet know how to say it perfectly. They may stumble. They may begin with something ordinary because they are afraid of revealing the full depth too quickly. But beneath whatever words they choose is a much larger confession. They never stopped caring. Even when they tried to act detached, they cared. Even when they buried themselves in responsibilities, they cared. Even when they avoided the conversation, they cared. Their feelings did not disappear. They became hidden beneath layers of fear, pride, and uncertainty. But hidden feelings do not remain quiet forever. Eventually, the heart demands expression. There have been nights when they wanted to reach for you. There have been moments when they opened a message, considered writing, and then stopped. There have been times when they imagined your response and became afraid that too much time had passed. They wonder whether you would still listen. They wonder whether you would believe them. They wonder whether the door is still open or whether they have already waited too long. And this is the question now moving through their heart: what if the person they were searching for was the person they were too afraid to choose? That question has changed everything. The person you love is no longer only remembering the past. They are imagining the future. They are seeing what life might look like if they continued without resolving this connection. They are seeing celebrations where your presence is missing, quiet evenings where your voice is absent, and milestones that feel incomplete because they never told you what was true. This vision has awakened urgency. Something within them is saying, "Speak now." Speak before pride creates permanent distance. Speak before silence becomes an ending. Speak before the person you love decides that peace without you is better than uncertainty beside you. The message they want to give you is not small. It is not simply, "I miss you." Missing you is only the surface. Beneath it is a realization about who you became in their life and why no one else has been able to occupy the same emotional space. They want to tell you that your love changed them. Even the painful parts changed them. Your absence revealed where they had been careless. Your patience revealed where they had been immature. Your strength revealed where they had been hiding. And your decision to keep growing, even while carrying unanswered questions, showed them that you were never weak for loving deeply. You were courageous. You offered something sincere in a world where many people only offer what is convenient. You remained genuine even when you did not know how the story would end. You felt deeply without allowing bitterness to become your identity. They see this now. But there is still one part of the truth they have not fully admitted, even to themselves. Listen closely. There was a specific moment when their feelings for you became undeniable. It was not necessarily during a romantic conversation or a perfect memory. It happened when they saw something in you that made them recognize the kind of person they could build a meaningful future with. Perhaps it was your compassion. Perhaps it was your loyalty. Perhaps it was the way you handled a difficult situation. Perhaps it was the quiet strength you showed when no one was applauding you. Whatever the moment was, it marked them. From then on, they knew you were different. Yet knowing frightened them, because when someone feels rare, losing them becomes a real possibility. And rather than moving closer, they allowed fear to make them hesitate. Now they are looking back at that moment and understanding what it meant. They are beginning to believe that your meeting was not random. They are beginning to see how certain events aligned, how certain conversations arrived at the exact time they were needed, and how even the separation forced both of you into necessary growth. They may not use spiritual language to describe it, but they feel that something larger has been guiding the connection. This does not guarantee an easy path. Divine connections are not always effortless. Sometimes they expose wounds before they reveal purpose. Sometimes they awaken love before both people are ready to carry it. Sometimes they create distance so that truth can become stronger than illusion. But what is meant to transform you will never leave you unchanged. You are not the same person you were when this story began. Neither are they. The person you love has been undergoing a quiet inner change. They are seeing relationships differently. They are questioning the patterns they once accepted. They are becoming less willing to live behind emotional masks. Something in them is tired of pretending that avoiding the truth is easier than facing it. And they are approaching a decision. This is why you were brought to this message now. Not yesterday. Not months ago. Now. Because the energy around the situation is shifting from reflection into movement. Thoughts that remained hidden are becoming intentions. Intentions are becoming decisions. And decisions are preparing to become actions. Do not chase the action. Do not force the timing. Do not abandon your peace to search for proof. Let truth travel toward you. What is sincere will not require you to beg for clarity. What is ready will not ask you to betray your boundaries. What belongs in your future must meet the version of you that has learned to honor yourself. The person you love knows, at some level, that they cannot return to the old version of this connection. They cannot simply reopen the door and expect everything to continue as before. They must acknowledge the hurt, explain the silence, and reveal what changed. And there is one particular truth they have been holding back. It concerns the real reason they became distant. You may have believed it was lack of interest. You may have thought another person mattered more. You may have blamed yourself, searched your memories, and wondered what you did wrong. But the reason is not what you think. Their distance began when they learned something that made them question whether they were worthy of the future they imagined with you. Instead of telling you, they carried it alone. Instead of trusting your heart, they made a decision based on fear. And now, after everything that has happened, they have discovered that what they believed may never have been true at all. That discovery has left them shaken. Because if the belief was false, then the distance, the silence, and the pain between you were built around a misunderstanding. They are now holding the truth in their hands, realizing that one honest conversation could have changed everything. And tonight, or very soon, they may finally decide that they cannot carry this secret any longer. But before they speak, there is something else they have just found out. Something directly connected to you, something that has made their message more urgent than ever. And when you hear what it is, you will understand why their next words could change the direction of this entire connection.